guys, it's Khristina from Redefine Creative, and I am back with another project for Memory Lane Scrapbook Store. And so I have been working with the Wild Heart and Auburn Lane collections for the last few weeks. And so I started off and did a few projects with Wild Heart, and today I'm going to work with the Auburn Lane collection instead. And this is also a gorgeous, super, super, super pretty and detailed collection. And so I have my 6x8 paper pad, and I am going to flip through that and go ahead and choose some of the papers that I want to go with my photo. So I have this 4x6 picture, and it's a picture of one of the favorite places and displays in my home. So it has just a bunch of pictures and little memorabilia types of things that really kind of encompass me. So it's one of my favorite places because it really has all of those things that are like everybody knows just define me. And so what I'm going to do is I want to create kind of a grid layout background. And I've done a layout like this once before where I have a bunch of squares, and I'm going to have 4 across the top and 3 in the next row, and then 2 and then 1. And this was originally when I used this idea, it was a sketch that I got from somewhere, which I'm not sure where that it was, probably Creative Sketches or somewhere from a long time ago. And I'm going to adjust it a little bit today. So really, instead of using a specific sketch or anything like that, I'm more or less scraplifting myself. So going with a layout idea or design that I've used before and tweaking it just a little bit to make it different. So my background paper is going to be this 12x12, and it's a textured cardstock. And I'm going to go ahead and lay out my squares. And right now they are 3-inch squares, and I am going to cut them a little bit smaller and make them about 2 3/4 because I want there to be some white space in between. And so I'm starting out with the squares, but I know that I'm going to end up with a triangular pattern instead. So rather than leaving these as full squares, I'm going to have another pattern paper that kind of takes up half of that space, except in that bottom square. And that's one of the little pieces from one of the cut aparts in the 6x8 paper pad. And it has the really pretty floral and just says thankful over the top. So that one is going to go in that very bottom space, and it's going to stay a square. All of the rest of them, you'll see, I'm going to go ahead and interchange them so that they are triangles instead. And I'm going to do them in a way where everything matches up. So the same 2 pattern papers are always going to kind of be pairs in this system. And they're going to be spread out throughout the layout. So I'm really just trying to kind of balance the patterns and the colors. Like, I don't want all the florals to be right next to each other. I don't want all of the black background papers to be right next to each other, the green background right next to each other. So I'm just kind of creating a balance throughout my entire grid. And I know that I have a lot of things that I want to say on this layout. So I am going to leave some room for some hidden journaling. And so there you see I've got all my triangles kind of glued down and spread out throughout my page, and I really like how that looks. So then I went ahead and grabbed one of these large, or extra large actually, white doilies, and I'm going to put that behind my photo just to kind of give a break between my photo and the busyness of that background. And then I'm going to go ahead and flip through the ephemera, and I want this little phrase that says enjoy the little things to act as my title, because this is really talking about these little pieces of my home that really kind of define who I am. And so then I also have this word thankful that I'm going to put along that top border, along with that little floral wreath that has kind of that dark green color with some really beautiful florals on top. And those are really going to be my 2 main embellishment clusters. So those are really the only areas that I'm worried about embellishing at this point. And the reason for that is because I do have a little bit more of a bold background. So when I have a bolder background like that, I'm much more careful with how many embellishments I use and where I place them, because I don't want it to become so busy that the eye doesn't have anywhere to kind of look. So that's why I'm really kind of paying attention to creating a break between the background page and my photo with that larger size doily. And then that I'm keeping my embellishments centered right around my photo, and I'm not letting them extend too far off the page because I want to make sure that my photo is what the reader sees or the viewer sees. Like, it's why you're here is the picture and the story. And so I know that I need a little bit of hidden journaling space. And so after I get done with my embellishment clusters, I'm already thinking in my head that I'm going to need that journaling space. And the space to the right of my photo, if I only had a little bit to say, that's where I would put my journaling in this case, is I would run it alongside right next to my photo, or it could even be kind of nestled underneath my photo if I didn't have a lot to say. When I have a lot to say, I need to be a little more strategic with where I'm going to put it, and often for me that means hidden journaling. So I'm going to go ahead here, and you'll see I'm kind of playing around with a few of the puffy stickers. I've added a little heart there and a little floral right around that title element. And even though this title isn't huge, or it isn't, you know, a big bold statement on the layout, it's still going to serve as my title piece, and I'm okay with that. My title doesn't have to be this super huge bold element on every single page. I do that and I love that look, but it doesn't always have to be that way. So then I'm going to go ahead here to my rub-ons, and I'm going to use, there's a bunch of series of just little teeny tiny hearts. And I want to extend those down in this bottom embellishment cluster just a little bit onto the white background. And so I'm just kind of looking for where I can add a couple of these little teeny tiny hearts that's going to kind of make that cluster feel a little bit more finished. So to me, there was a little bit of space in that corner that felt awkward because it wasn't a square edge. Like, it didn't come down to that perfect square edge. And so rather than adding another piece of paper behind it, I'm adding some additional embellishments and rub-ons that are going to kind of extend it a little bit to make it feel a little bit more finished. So it gives it that kind of end details at that corner, if that makes sense, to kind of bridge that gap. So everything kind of looks like it's where it was meant to be. I'm looking at that sticker sheet to see if there's anything I want to go ahead and add there, and I don't pull off anything this time, but I am going to use it here in a few minutes when I go back to finish off this layout. So I'm just kind of looking, and I know this is what I want the layout itself to look like, and now I need to deal with that hidden journaling part. So I have created just this white tag, and I start off in one direction and finish in a different one, which has kind of been my trend lately. I'm going to go ahead and use my little hole puncher here and create the little hole for the tag out of that green paper. And I'm thinking at this point that I'm going to leave this tag white, and it's just going to slide in underneath my photo element here so that I can put a bunch of journaling on it and it will all be hidden. But then I decided to go ahead and add some white ribbon with my tiny attacher to the end. I didn't want to use jute or twine or anything like that because it just felt a little bit too heavy. So I have this really light white satin ribbon and decided to use that instead, and I really like how that kind of goes with the feel of this particular layout. And so then I am just kind of trying to match up here with my tag, and I totally messed that up the first time. So I'm going to try that again. And what I am trying to do is I want the top of my tag to be this green color. And I don't necessarily want those staples to show in this point where I have added that ribbon. So for some reason, I have used that look before, but it was just bugging me today. And so I'm going to cover that up instead. So I'm going to sandwich my ribbon in between that white cardstock and then this green pattern paper that matches the rest of my layout, which means I'm also going to cut or punch another one of these little hole reinforcers, and I'm going to use pink this time to put that over the top, and I like that much better. And I still have all of that white space to include my hidden journaling, but it gives the tag a little bit more definition as it's peeking out from behind that photo. So then I'm going to go ahead and just get my journaling done, and I added just a few little stickers on the bottom edge of that journaling, and it just is, those are from the 6x12 sticker sheet, and I attached them with the tiny attacher staple detail at the very edge, just to add a little bit more interest to it. And so that's basically going to do it. So I got to include a lot of journaling, but it doesn't take away from the page itself. And because it is a little bit more personal and talks about each of the things in this picture, it is hidden away so that not everybody necessarily flipping through my album is going to see. So definitely head over to Memory Lane Scrapbook. Use the code SECRET20 for a discount if you want to pick up some Auburn Lane and play along with me. I'll see you soon. Bye!